Who's on? Let me see who's here with us. Barbara, Deborah, Leslie, Lindsay, Michelle, the other Michelle. Hey, Rachel. You're here too. Rachel, sprinkle some of your magic in here. Oh, we're live. When did it go live? I didn't even
Maybe
notice.
like 30 seconds ago.
Okay. I was too busy looking at the chat. Okay, hello. Hello and welcome. This is Illuminated Design. So today we are going to be doing chart readings for the Identity Hub. So we have two people from the Inner Circle membership that we've selected to read their charts. And we're going to be looking at their Identity Center, the Identity Hub. But Belle and I usually weave other parts of the chart. So it's not going to be exclusively just zooming in on the Identity Center, even though that's kind of our intention and focus. So our starting point is there, but where we go from there is up to the energies and what's calling us. So we're probably also going to be doing a little bit of Q&A as well, because we did have inside of our Inner Circle container, we went in an intensive into the Identity Hub. So we've already done an embodiment call. We've done a teaching around the Identity Hub. That was like 2 hours long. And we didn't get to questions to answer. So Bella, if you do you have the website up too? Because we're going to need to look in the Inner Circle group to get the questions to answer. So when we get to that, we'll just make sure both of us have that up.
Yeah, and I'm sharing this in a few groups so that more people can just, be part of the magic.
Okay. Let me pull up our charts. Okay. Okay, are we ready? Almost. So let's do a little recap. So if those of you that don't know, the Identity Hub, the Identity Center is in the middle of your body graph. We make it green, but it's different colors in different charts that you look at. I don't remember what color Jovian puts it as, but so the different archetypes that live here are the Alpha, that's gate 7. Gate 1 is the spark. Gate 13 is the confidant. Gate 25 is the innocent. Gate 46 is the sensual. Gate 2 is the feminine. Gate 15 is the wild woman. And gate 10 is the natural. And both the incarnation crosses of the Sphinx and the vessel of love live within this center. So if you're a vessel of love or a Sphinx, then all of your activation sequence or the sun and earth activations in your design, in your human design chart, they all live in the G center. So we're going to be looking at these archetypes today, and we picked two people from the Inner Circle to get their charts read by us. So the first person that we chose is Erica. Erica's from Sweden, and Bella's in Sweden right now. So Erica is a 1-3 sacral manifesting generator. We find the 1-3 by looking at, we can look at the sun activation. So you can see 0.1 here, 0.3 here. She's a 1-3 manifesting generator, sacral manifesting generator, because the sacral is defined. And she has a connection to her throat. I believe, she didn't specify whether she was a manifesting generator or a generator. She might actually be a generator, right? Because she doesn't have the sacral to the throat. Yeah. So she's a generator, not a manifesting generator. And then we're the right angle cross of laws. So she has the maestro, the 50, the eternal child, the 3, the comedian, the 56, or the entertainer. The 60 is the magician. That's gate 60. And you can see that the we have both charts, so the human design chart and the gene key chart, because we like to bridge the gap between both. And the activations inside of the body graph that are activated by the planets can also be translated into the gene key sphere. So you're going to see we're just concentrating on the identity center right now. So we can see that she has an open identity center and she only has the alpha in here. So what that would mean is she her preferred way of experiencing this center would be through the alpha. However, it's not consistently defined. She doesn't have a consistent sense of direction, love, or identity. So that gets activated either by the transits or by other people around her. And that's kind of like when the light switch goes on, or when she starts to have that energy in there, is through the connection with other people. And the way that she processes this energy that she's taking in is through the channel, is through the alpha, this activation with the 7. And the frequency moves from division to guidance to virtue. And so this is going to be the energy that she's predominantly experiencing in this center. Bella, as you're looking at things, what kind of is speaking to you now that we've kind of given a little rundown of it?
Yeah, I feel it's very interesting. So in the teaching yesterday, we're speaking about the open G and the open centers. So when we look here, there are 5 open centers. So even if it's a generator, there are more open centers than defined centers. So we know that the energy direction in this body graph, it's a lot that comes in. It's more that filters through and comes in than what goes out actually. And in the centers that are open, we have 2 that are completely open, the head and the emotional. And then there are 3 centers with only 1 gate. So what we said yesterday is that there's only 1 gate. That gate becomes important because it's how the person is going to process that, all the energy that comes in, everything that she filters. So like Ashley was saying, when it comes to the G, everything is going to go through that gate, the alpha gate, which is the leader, the facilitator, and it's very future oriented. So there is something here, even if it's the 1-3, and she's very focused on her own destiny and her own life path. When it comes to what she takes in of like the identity, the direction, the love from everybody outside of her, it's going to tune into something very transpersonal. The 7th gene key is very transpersonal. The where humanity is going. We can also see that around the head we have 3 arrows to the right, which is also receptive. It's passive. It's taking in a lot. So here we have a person with 5 open centers with 3 out of 4 variables to the right. So Erica is going to take in a lot. So I feel like there's even this almost a little bit of a paradox between being very personal and at the same time taking in so much and being future oriented and transpersonal. What I feel is interesting too with the chart is that what draw my attention is that the radiance is 56 and the emotions are also 56. So I feel like there is this, again, a little bit of tension between distraction and true enrichment. And as a 1-3, you're going to stumble on many things in life. And I feel like really the discernment here is what is just a distraction for me and what is really enrichment, what makes me more empowered and what makes me kind of fragmented, like what divides me into things and what is it that makes me empowered. We can see that the pearl here is 52. So you're supposed to be the mountain and focus and be still in the things that matter to you. And also when we look at the IQ and the attraction, we know that 3 months before you were born, Venus and the moon were together. They were conjunct. So in your design, in your soul, you have your Venus and your moon. Those feminine archetypes were together. And they're here to see what was spoiled, what has been spoiled. And this is, again, we are looking at the collective, what has been spoiled and how can we do it better? How can we create a foundation that is better, a pattern that is better? 18 is all about that improvement. There is something that you value and that you're going to attract to you, where you're going to be able to do it in a way that makes more sense. So I feel like when you can weed out the distraction and focus on the things that matter, then you're going to be able to provide for yourself and others a value, a way of doing things that is less corrupt. If we want to look at, if we want to look and weave it with your life's work as well, you're here to weed out things, and you're here. You're grounded in that 60 in a structure that is going to create the banks of the river in a way. And I feel like the way that you want to live this is a way that it doesn't feel limiting, but feels enriching. And the last thing I'm going to say before we go on, that when it comes to that, to how you live out your G center, is always going to be initiated by others, the environment that you're in, the people in that environment, and the way that you work, on a daily basis with yourself, it's going to be very splenic. I see all these, and splenic means instinctive. So your compass as you move through the world is going to be your intuition and your instinct. And then people and situations are going to come into your life. You're going to be like, oh, this is the direction for the future. This is the pattern that works better. This is how we weed out the corruption. But it's not something that you're going to look after and initiate. It's the people that you meet that is going to kind of pull that part out of you. So you don't need to focus on it. It's going to come to you. You never have to focus on being a leader. It's just something that happens through the interaction of you being correct, following your splenic authority in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would, yes, I agree with a lot of what you said, and it kind of triggered a spark in me to kind of look at the open centers that you were mentioning in the beginning, the completely open centers that she had, and the ones that have only one gate. So here, being a personal destiny profile, you're here to weed out that corruption and to reform those banks of the river when it's not really allowing your most exalted expression, the way that you're here to move through the world. So sometimes it's going to take you breaking down those barriers, because the third line is also those bonds made and broken. And so we can see you're not here to stay in a fixed structure forever. You're here to break it down. If it's corrupt, like, they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But as soon as you realize it's broke, you're going to need to let go of it. You're going to need to break it down. And the third gene key is your eternal child. It's going to help you rebuild the new one. You have the whole channel of mutation here. So when something does need to get broken down, your 60 is fully adept at being able to create the new structure. And the third gene key, the third gate, the eternal child, it's going to help you innovate to create something new. So like whatever you built with your Lego blocks, breaking it down to create something completely new. When you break that down, you're not going to be creating the same exact thing. If you do that, you're falling into the pattern of that 5 that likes the same rhythm, that wants to create the same thing because it's used to it. And for you, you are going to be drawing people in your life to stir up this shock, to stir up this opportunity for you to find the direction, to find the patterns, to see what is wrong with the situation, to see what is wrong within you, because you have the 18 in your traction. So somebody's going to come into your life so that you can find the corruption, you can find the thing within yourself, because this is an exploration, a contemplation, and it can be repressed. So part of it is allowing and opening yourself to these win-win relationships where you can experience the emotions, where you can experience this sense of worth and value and motivation, where you can experience love, direction, identity, and psychosis, confusion, doubt, inspiration, ideas, all these things. You're going to be experiencing it in the other. And through that diversity that you experience in the other, you get to find your own direction. And your direction's not going to be stable. It's not going to be consistent. It's going to vary. And because your inner stability, because your Saturn, your unconscious Saturn is 7.5, I mean, that fifth line, you may even have a lot of projections on your direction, a lot of like, oh, you should be going this way, or a lot of guidance from outside of you. But really, you're here to harness the power of your own inner guidance. So being able to use those relationships as a mirror, and ultimately you deciding for you where you want to go, what you want to invest in. And it can get distracting having all of these interactions, all of these people, all of these different experiences and things to sort through, because you do have a lot of openness and really pivotal centers. You have that grounding in the root and the sacral, so you have the energy, and you have, like Bella said, that intuition, that splenic lifestyle, and that expression. But that sense of direction, that purpose, that identity, that drive, and that emotional capability, those are all open, and they're also inconsistent. So in order to hone in on that direction, I feel your direction is going to constantly change depending who you're with, because the open centers, the open G tends to be like a chameleon of sorts. So I think being adaptable and knowing that the container that you're in with one person may not work for another person. So maybe one of your geniuses is being able to mold and create and construct a container in each individual relationship that helps it flourish, that helps it thrive, that helps it be in harmony. And the only way that you do that is by bringing your presence and your stillness to the relationship, so that you can then know what fits best, so that it is a win-win, and you don't need to do life alone, because with your openness, you're calling in and attracting those relationships to help you seek perfection, to help you seek what is in integrity for me. So yeah, I love and appreciate your chart. It's very cool. And especially having your outer environment being all about those shocks to help you come back to that intuition. It's you're being initiated into your intuition, which is your inner guidance system. Okay. Well, anything else that you want to like respond to before we move on, Bella?
Yeah, I feel that there is something with the first line, the IQ and the EQ and the attraction and also the personality. And I know, Ashley, you're a 5-1, so you have a little bit of a similar dynamic, although your first line is in the body, but your IQ and your EQ are also first lines. So I do believe that here there is something that might be so deep in you that you don't even know how to express it. So I would say, as you're in the inner circle, as you're in our different containers, inquiry is one of the values, or like one of the modalities, one of the things that we are engaging in Unlock Your Design. So I feel like not only going to the depth, because I think that that's part of your nature, but being able to pull up and share. So I would love you to share more with us of you, because with all these first lines, there's almost like a sometimes not even knowing how to share. And you have a defined throat, but the thing is, it's unconscious. So part of your expression might be something that you're not really consciously aware of is there. So I would put some emphasis in how can you share, because your how do you say, your intelligence, which is both your IQ and your EQ, is going to come from that sharing. And also because you have your attraction in the first line, your magnetism and how you're going to attract things to you, which has to do with the G center. And also we can see some details of how it's going to happen in the attraction sphere. It's going to come from you daring to share with the world. So that is important. And I see you have a completely open emotional, just like I have. And I know sometimes we're tiptoeing because we don't want to like stir too much, because it's going to amplify in us. So my invitation to you would be to really, really, really use your intuition. Like Ashley mentioned as well, your North Node is all about intuition. Your splenic center is very, very defined. You can trust in the now, like the spontaneous feeling. So if you want to use that and share some of the adventures, because your SQ, your heart, is 35.6, you're here to have many adventures. And I would love you to share with us, because that 35 is part of the collective circuitry on the sensing side. So it's like by sharing, we're going to gain wisdom. You're giving wisdom to the collective, and you are 1-3, you're going to bump into things. So my invitation for you would be, and I know that you're Swedish, so we have like kind of the same culture. And I know that here, a lot of it is to not be louder than anybody else or not be very different. So I would definitely invite you to share more. And I actually, if I remember right, you did even share a video of yourself in the beginning when we did the found competition, and that's super powerful when you dare to do these things. And I think that if you continue, for sure, the universe is going to reward you for having that courage and to show up in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Erica, for submitting your charts, and we'll see you in the inner circle. And if you have any questions or responses to this, you can post it in the inner circle or in the comment section of the video. But thanks for submitting. And then let's move on to the next person. Barbara, I think you're on with us right now, Barbara. I don't think we have another Barbara in I don't think we have another Barbara, so I think it's Barbara Bright. So Barbara is and let me move this down, is a 1-3 sacral generator. So she is a right angle cross of consciousness, another 1-3, just like Erica. She has the wild woman, archetype 15, and the innocent, archetype 25, in a defined identity center. So here the same thing, one, that makes her a 1-3. And then we can see that she has her head and her ajna defined, and her identity center and her sacral defined. So that means that she has a split right here because she doesn't have the head and the ajna connected to the identity center and the sacral. So she kind of has this gap where she has the open or undefined throat, where she can live in her head or live in her sacral, live in her body. And she has a lot of openness, just like Erica, but in different places. So here she has a consistent sense of identity, self, love, direction, and the way that she expresses it is in her fixed rhythms. She has the whole channel of the 15-5. This is that channel of rhythm. And so she is going to kind of be the metronome, be the pendulum that swings, have her own extremes and have her own routines, and know when to like let go of different routines. The 5 is in her evolution sphere. So in a way, it's her greatest challenge. And sometimes she could get fixed. I don't know why I'm saying she. I'm going to talk to you, Barbara. Sometimes, Barbara, you can get fixed in your own rhythms and routines. But the wild woman that you have, and she is in your Mercury, 15.6, right? We have 5.1, maybe fixed, safe, secure. The first line likes consistency, likes certainty. But the 15.6, the wild woman's looking towards the future. And so she's going to kind of break up what's fixed, what's certain, and say, I like diversity. I like the extremes. I want to break it up. So there's a part of you that is wanting the different flavors of life, the extremes of life, and a part of you that may be fixed in your routines. And so you're kind of having this dualistic quality within you. And so it's about balancing the two aspects so that you can have like this rhythm that really flows well within you. I like to look at this channel as being like really influenced by the nervous system as well. So nature is a very good way to regulate that nervous system to get back to the Schumann resonance, which the 15 can get really, really caught up in the extremes of things. And if you spend a lot of time with technology or other people, like you can start getting that quick, fast-paced lifestyle. But when you go back to nature, it resets you. And I know that in the inner circle, the wild woman has been coming up a lot on our calls, and a lot of you resonate with her. So yeah, that's the main thing that I would say about this. And then you have the 25, which we call the innocent, and the innocent is kind of reaching out to be initiated or shocked by life, because the 51 is what bridges that, and the 51 gives you the opportunity to be shocked or leap into the void, to experience that love of a greater spirit, of the spirit of the self, and experience that. So that's kind of what you're reaching out for in your G. You have 2 of the 4 vessel of love gates and none of the Sphinx gates. So I think these are big themes for you in your identity, in who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I see a few things, and it's actually, I'm not going to speak specifically about the G here, because what brings me to what comes out to me, it's similar to what Ashley's saying. Like, I see a lot of like paradox or pull in different directions in this chart. So it's like you kind of have to encompass a lot. You are the cross of consciousness, and already cross of consciousness has to encompass consciousness, like, and that's expanding all the time. Richard Rudd has this cross, for example. Somebody we worked with that was channeling or tapping into kind of voices and radio stations out there. She also had a cross of consciousness. And at the same time, you're a 1-3. So you're supposed to be focused on you. And At the same time, you have a lot of second lines. So for me, I can see that there is this pull of being really broad and at the same time being really narrow. That's one of the things. And the other thing that I can see that really, really stands out to me is the 21. So you have your Saturn and your moon in 21, and you also have your SQ in 21. So that means that your life is going to be a lot about you finding your true authority and not through controlling things. And we know that a 1-3 can often have to take a lot of responsibility. And sometimes that can be the same as thinking that being empowered is the same thing as having control over things. And that's really important because we see that you have a lot of risk taking. And with the South node in 28 and also your core wound in the 28, it can be that you have been taking too much risk or that you've been very risk adverse. So you only know which extreme, like the repressive or the reactive, that you have had. What we do see is that you're going to be nurtured, moon, by being in your true authority. You're going to have to come into your true authority to actually kind of overcome that. Sometimes I feel like Saturn is a break. It takes a while to kind of get through it. So there are going to be, as a 1-3, some bumps in the road before you can come into your stability. You can overcome this kind of severity in Saturn in 21.1. And then at the same time, your SQ, which is your heart and your childhood, has to do with this authority. So I don't know if you had like very authoritarian parents that didn't let you have like wildness and freedom, or that there was no authority there to look up to and kind of feel as a child. So again, I can't, in your chart, like I can't tell if it's the one or the other, is what I feel. And maybe like Ashley's saying, you have the 15-year Mercury, so we don't know to what side your extremes are. But I definitely, what really, really stands out to me is that you're here to step into your true authority. And that has nothing to do with control, because with the cross of consciousness, it's very expansive what you're here to do. A very good way for you to tune in is to be in your natural rhythm with that 5-15. So this is connecting to the G center. When you are in your natural rhythm and you're conscious of what's your natural rhythm. So I really hope that you are in an environment, in a relationship where you can be in your true rhythm. I also see with 47 several times in the outer planet that there is some kind of karma that you're really here to work through. And with the second line in your core wound, I feel like there is some denial in your family that could either have to do with like denying that your purpose or kind of killing yourself for your purpose. The 28 is a risk taker. And it also possibly have to do with relationships. So relationships without a purpose, or relationship where there's a risk taking that is way out, or relationship where there's a control mechanism. So there's something with the relationship, something with risk taking that is going to probably impact your relationships. And at the end of the day, as a 1-3, you're here to have win-win relationships. So it's going to be important that you have this reciprocity, this mirroring, that you are able to not deny your part in relationships, that you can take risks that are worth it, that have a meaning and a purpose. And again, I'm going to say a little bit the same thing as I said for Erica, with that EQ that is a first line and your personality being a first line, especially emotionally in your case, it's going to be important to be able to express. And with that open throat and the open emotional too, you could be a little bit like speaking to what people are expecting you to say. And that is going to be to your detriment. It's very important that you speak from your inner authority, that you speak to the reciprocity with the other. And don't hide what you're really feeling. That is going to be very, very important. Yeah, that's what I feel when I see this chart. I guess too, there's this Taurus quality. We are in the 24 right now, going into, I believe, to the second line, which is your design north node. So I think a way of grounding this cross of consciousness is to really feel into the Taurus quality. So the sensuality, feeling like you're grounded in the earth and using your senses to navigate is going to be important. You're sacral authority. So you're here to be in your life force, be in your body and flow through life. And your pearl is enrichment. So it's very important for you to be using your senses in the compass. And we can see that even in your emotions, there can be repression. But when you tune into that intuition, to that sacral gut feeling, even your emotionally, it's going to be more natural for you to open up. So always this kind of duality again between Scorpio, that is more like the depth and the existential and the complexity, and the other, and then Taurus on the other side, there's the simplicity in the body and the self. So there is a lot of duality, is what I feel in your chart. But the most important thing is to find your inner authority and to create those relationships where there's a healthy reciprocity. And then as a 1-3, you're going to be able to have win-win relationships that probably are going to balance you between life and death, Scorpio and Taurus, me and the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as a 1-3, since this is like personal destiny, just like Erica, we can kind of see that it's going to be important for both of you to find those win-win relationships. And I was starting to notice that I know that Erica has the 51, which bridges the 25. So that's a harmonic gate or channel that you would come together to complete things. And then Erica has the 18 right here. And then Barbara has the 58. So what would happen here is with that connection, Barbara would actually have a defined splenic center and a defined root center in that relationship with her. And then we can also see that it's so cool to see harmonics. I don't know why I'm bringing this in, but I feel like I want to spark this like initiation relationship between the two of you. Barbara has the 27, which is that gate of caring. This is the nourisher. And then Erica has the 50. So there's a lot of harmonic gates. There's a lot of attraction channels that we're going to see coming together between the two of them. And that makes that relationship very catalyzing, because it's like you're bridging gates together to make channels, and that channels can be utilized by both of you. So the universe is kind of bringing you together, and the fact that we read both of your charts and you have so many electromagnetic channels, it might be beneficial for you to come together. And also you have resonance together, being both 1-3 sacral generators. One has the cross of consciousness, one has the cross of laws, and one has a defined G and the other one has an open G. And I think that because, Barbara, you have vessel of love gates, what Erica can do is tap into you and kind of help you reflect to you maybe what the correct direction or guidance may be, because that's her preferred way of processing things is through this guidance, right? Division, guidance, virtue. There may be something she can reflect to you in terms of bringing in that guidance. So that's kind of interesting and cool to be able to have that dynamic going on here. And yeah, I would just reach out to each other and see what comes of the relationship.
Yeah, I feel like we see that more and more with the inner circle, that there is a purpose with people being there, and especially with a vocation, the 28. It's like,
yeah,
the relationship has a purpose,
Bella's culture sphere is 44, and currently the inner circle is $44. But when you join the first month, we make it 22, and the 22 is the invitation. So if you use code community and step through the portal, right? I feel like what activates here is your soul fractal. I remember Deborah, not the Deborah that's on the chat with us now, but another Deborah. She was like, I found my tribe, I found my people. And it's just cool to be able to see these connections forming between people and people making friends in here, because I like this to be a gathering point. And part of what Bella and I have started to notice is there's been a lot of repeat incarnation crosses coming into our lives. We've been seeing patterns of the fractal that is awakening and showing up for us. So we've been attracting the same type of people. 4 6s, 6 2s, cross of contagion, or people that have the 19 and the 33, cross of consciousness as well. There's just a lot that seems to be magnetizing. And when you can stop and take a moment to look at what gift life is giving to you, you're going to start seeing the patterns and see, okay, what's the message behind this gift? And it's kind of cool. Like you hold a key for them, they hold a key for you. So there's always a mutually beneficial exchange between the two of you. And it's really cool to be able to find that red thread. That's what makes life magical for me. And that's what I really enjoy doing. So I get a kick out of like uncovering it and being the detective to figure out, what is this? What's here? So yes. Okay, well, we do have some time, and we did want to do the Identity Hub question and answers. So at our reading yesterday, or not at our reading, at our teaching yesterday, we had some questions that we wanted to answer. If anybody has any other questions that you would like to be answered about the Identity Hub, you can pop it in the chat in Zoom or on our Unlock Your Design Facebook page. Those are probably the only two places that we're going to be able to go. If you're in another group watching this, I don't think we're going to be able to monitor that. So let me go back to our inner circle. Unless do you have it up, Bella, or no? I'm pulling it up.
No,
right
I made screenshots on the computer yesterday.
I have it too. And I put it in our featured post as well. Okay, so the first question is, will we be covering the dormant and hanging gates to the G? So there is questions about hanging gates in the G. We did talk about, the electromagnetics or the harmonics. Is there anything that you feel like you want to illuminate about these hanging gates in the G center for the defined and undefined? Possibly. I think it's a good distinction.
Yeah, we did speak about all the gates yesterday, and it was oh, what happened? We were speaking about all the gates yesterday, and we spent like 2 hours. So if you weren't on the teaching call, if you're not in the inner circle, there is like a 2-hour thing on all the gates, the 8 gates of the G center. And I also do feel like we spoke about what happens when they are hanging. You're always looking for the other side. What happens if you only have one defined? It's going to look for the other side, whether it's defined or not. So I feel like we did cover a lot. We did cover more than we have done in the other centers. Yes. So yeah.
Yeah, but I would say for people that are watching now, if you have an open G, an undefined G, it's white, it's not filled in, and you have gates present. So for example, we saw Erica, and Erica had the 7. So 7 is a hanging gate for her. What is on the other side of the 7 is the 31. So possibly if it's important for her and her design to call in the 31, she's going to call in someone that has the 31st gate somewhere. And when she comes together, she's going to have that G center filled in. It's going to fill in her G and her throat. And she'll have that whole channel of leadership. So that's going to be a dynamic that is going to play out in the relationship with that person. If she does form a business relationship with somebody that has the 31, it may be beneficial for the business. And she'd have, the 7, which is the alpha, and the other one would have the president. And one would be like the heart or direction of the leader. And the other one would be the voice of the leader. So coming together, they would be able to share and bridge together and bring it to whatever endeavor they're doing together. So that's how you want to look at things with the hanging gates, is you're probably going to pull in people, or the transits will activate it every now and then when they're activated by the planets. So, yeah. Do you have a question that you found that you'd like to answer?
I looked at them and I'm like, I just want to wait until I hear them and you read them to me.
Yes, Queen Bella, you want me to read you to feed you grapes too? No, it's so that you can respond. I think it's your sacral deciding to respond or not. It's different when you read it versus someone else reads it. Okay. Okay, wait, hold on. Deborah, you have a lot of questions and you're on here too, so I'm glad. When transits connect our channels from other centers to our G, then do we express our G in accordance with those channel centers? Are you talking? Yeah. Are you reading that and understanding?
I definitely feel so. I have a defined G center, a defined sacral, and a defined throat. However, when when the nodes for several months were in 8 and 14, I had direct channels all the way from the throat to the G to the sacral. And I definitely felt the channel 214, the keeper of the keys. And I also felt the 1-8, the creativity. It was there and it was so cool, like all the time. I didn't have to kind of wait for energy. I didn't have to wait for being able to be an agent for that creativity in my one. So absolutely, I would say if it's a moon transit, well, it's a few hours. If you're super intuitive, maybe you're going to, but I think that could also be just your mind kind of telling you, oh, now I have the 4, so now I can conceptualize or whatever. I really feel like it's more with a longer transit. So the outer planets, the transpersonal planets, Uranus, maybe from Saturn out, or the nodes, then you're going to be able to feel it. If it's just a shorter thing, like even Mercury is usually fast, but of course, if Mercury goes retrograde in something, and it can go there, then goes back, and then goes over again, you're going to feel that 3 times. So I mean, I think a good test experiment is next time Mercury goes retrograde, you can look at, okay, now it's there, then it's going to go back and not be on it, and it's coming back, it's going over it, and then you could play with it. And definitely people is super powerful. I was in contact with somebody the last few weeks, and I was like, this is so interesting because I don't know this person, but there's kind of such a pull. And then I had to ask for the birth date, and then there were 7 electromagnetics, and I'm like, I know mechanics never lie. So I would say with other people, it's even more cool than with the transit, because it's another soul, another being that you're connecting with. It doesn't lie. Like 7 electromagnetics, that is a lot of electromagnetics. And I don't really even know this person. And there's just this attraction, this pull, So
Ross speaks about that too, and to not mistake the magnetic, like really like charged feeling of the the electromagnetics, and being like, oh, it's like that's the sparks, that's what you're feeling, like, oh, the honeymoon phase where there's butterflies, and it's like you're just feeling the pull. But then over time, you start to experience that, and it may be like it's not correct for you. But in the beginning, what pulled you there is correct, and over time, it's for you to understand like why that brought you there in the first place. Because the universe is beautiful in the way that it's going to bring you and like kind of lure you, like, oh, come over here. And then you get in the relationship, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said yes to this. But it's for you. You're always like, every relationship where you feel that pull is a soulmate relationship, because there's always a way for you to be able to come closer and closer. And when you hit that friction, you can either peace out or go deeper into it and decide to come closer together. But I don't think anybody is going to just come and be like completely, oh yes, merge together, unity, and there's no friction at all. We're going to hit some level of resistance, and that's why everybody's talking about, I mean, I don't see people talking about as much as it was before, where they're like looking for their soulmate and stuff. It's like, you can't find that soulmate until you do the work on yourself, because you're not going to recognize them. Every single person is your soulmate. If you are connected, if the universe delivers them to you, that's your opportunity to like resolve any friction, any corruption, any conflict within you, because they are being the agent to come to you to show you what you don't accept in yourself. And like when you can merge and unite and have sacred union with another, it means also that you've created that sacred union within yourself. So there's potential in every relationship. I would say that. And that's what's kept me in my relationship with my husband as long as I have, because I can feel the potential. But sometimes we do need to cut ties and be like, potential isn't always reality, especially if both partners aren't willing to do the work to meet the friction, to meet the thing, to merge, to come together. Yeah.
There's also something after a while to know and notice what you prefer. Like I am somebody who very often, when I feel that way, I look at the charts and there's 6, 7, 8. I have 12 electromagnetics sometimes with a manifester. And I'm like, can you even have that? So for me, that is the preferred way to feel. I have a Scorpio moon and I have my Jupiter on my Scorpio moon. Of course, I want intensity. I know other people. I know somebody who had, I can't remember the name. I think it's being pansexual. It's when you are attracted when there is a deep emotional connection and you are not really attracted like spontaneously with people. And she said that she could not She loved when there was one electromagnetics, but if there was one, more than one, it was too intense for her. And then she didn't even dare to open emotionally. So to also, look at charts with the people around you, with your family, with your friends, and see what feels like a good connection to you. And then, you start to look at the nature of those mechanics, and then you will learn. And then you're going to know that when there are 8 electromagnetics, you're like, I'm going to be burnt both ends. This is not for me. So I'm not saying everybody should like that. And many people don't even like, it can kind of be repelling, like magnets, like two poles are the same. So you're not even going to feel anything with those people. So to know your vehicle, this is the G center is how we move through space to fulfill our destiny. The trajectory that our magnetic monopole takes us on when we are correct with our strategy and authority, with our body, with our intuition, taking us to fulfill our purpose. And the way that we do that is unique. And that's what the magnetic monopole and the G center says. So the way that you connect and fulfill your purpose is going to be different than mine. Of course, with the 28 twice, I'm going to take all these risks. I'm going to have all this intensity. I'm going to go to these deep places with people I don't even know. That is my way of doing it. So what is your uniqueness? What's your way of doing it? Who are you in the world? Can you be loved for who you are? That was one of the questions we were asking yesterday about the G. So this is a perfect discussion conversation for this particular center.
Can you be loved for who you are, and like knowing your preferred way of relating, like Bella said. I don't like a lot of electromagnetics. I don't even know what that would be like, but like the universe always delivers me like 1 to 2. I don't have a ton. 1, 2, 3 maybe. Then it gets dicey for me. But I'm a single definition, so there's not a lot of bridging. I'm usually dominating, and I don't know what it's like on the other side of having a single definition with like a lot of channels. It might be really frustrating. So somebody, Lindsay said, question about relationships. When one person has a defined G center and one has an undefined center, what is that like? I have an open G, hanging gate 10 and 25, and then I'm assuming your partner has a defined G.
For my inquiry, if you are the open G center, I would say, who are you when you're with your partner? And who are you when you're with other people? Like that is going to be so important. And then do you like who you are when you're with your partner? Or is that person somebody that you can't stand? Then probably it's not amazing. And also because you have the 10 and the 25 hanging, how are those two gates expressing themselves when you're with your partner? Because you are going to filter that definition that your partner has. So is that showing you that your 10 and your 25 are in a higher frequency? So when you're with your partner, do you feel like you're in naturalness? And do you feel like you're in this innocence of like loving life and feeling spirit? Well, in that case, I believe that it is a really beautiful connection. But if you are in low frequencies of contraction in the 25 and of this kind of like, oh no, I have to like make sure that I have, I can be myself. Like if that's even an issue, or like the self-centeredness where you kind of have to like even make a false kind of wall between you because you feel like he's kind of invading who you are, then I would say it's not so good. You cannot not be influenced. And this is, I don't think Jeremy's on today, but he said something in a text message to me. He's like, Bella, sorry, Jeremy, you're watching this live for everybody. But he said, Bella, you never have to worry that my emotional wave is going to amplify in you. I have nothing in my emotional center, and he has the 659. So I leave, when he's kind of in our core team. So when he's in an emotional wave and he's really good at talking to like not talking, communicating to us. I can't make the call today. I'm on an emotional wave. So Ash and I always know why he's not there. And that's amazing. The transparency, that 59 is it's so good. And I'm like, but when I got the message, I'm like, Jeremy, there's nothing you can do. It's not like you can make your emotional wave not amplify in my open emotional center, because the mechanics is that the defined center is going to be filtered by an open center and it's going to amplify. So it's not something we decide, and that's the beauty of this. It is, and we get to watch it and then see how we want to move with it. And that's the whole thing again about the G. How do we move with the things that life is giving to us, or that's coming on our trajectory?
Yeah, and your compass is going to show you the direction you're meant to go in, and it's a direction towards love, and most importantly self-love. So Lindsay, when you're defined by your husband and you are portraying a certain identity, and like Bella said, if you're feeling constriction, if you feel like you can't breathe, if you feel like you're suffocated, if you feel like you can't be in your naturalness, then of course it's going to not feel good, and you're going to need to tune into the relationships where you feel that. But what's beautiful is that's the content for you to be able to work through, to be like, where do I shut down when in the presence of the other, and what in the other makes me feel that way? Because in some way the hierarchy is they're here and you're here, and they have power over you in some way. So there's a dynamic going there, and it may come from like your mom or your dad. Everything can stem back to childhood, and so you have an opportunity for resolution and completion here. So that's what I would feel in my relationship with my husband for so long, and I can say this now because we're on the other side of it. But it took a while for me to work through the dynamics of how he was being my mom or being my dad, and I would feel like the constriction and I can't be me. And it took a long time for me to be like, being able to be natural and be like, this is just who I am, and I wouldn't do things the way you would. So it's important to find that. I keep talking about the friction, but that's like, that is what I'm understanding in my 6.5 in my life's work, is when you meet the friction, when you meet the conflict in yourself, in relation with another, that's the content for you to dive into, be like, okay, why am I feeling this? Because there is a possibility and potential for you to ease in any relationship, but that friction is the point where you're meeting yourself, where you've given your power away, and it's like, boom, over here. So I know we're speaking to like the shadow in the relationship of this, of what can happen, but I guess it's important to know that you don't have a fixed identity, direction, or sense of love or self. And so you're not here to also be consistent in, I'm this with my husband, and so I need to carry this identity with me everywhere I go because I'm trying to make consistency everywhere. You can be a chameleon. You can be different in different relationships. And maybe it could trigger something in your husband who maybe enjoys in like certainty. And when you show up differently in another relationship, you're like, how come you don't show up like that with me? How come you don't this or that? And there can be jealousy coming up in him because he's like, why aren't you the same over there? You can just be like, I don't know. I'm a dynamic personality and I'm different in different containers. So that's kind of how you would deal with being a defined G. And I think everything, every issue, every problem, every conflict can be solved when you have transparency and conscious communication and knowing your design and knowing who you are, so you can communicate that to the other. They don't need to buy into it or not. You don't need to say, oh, I have an open G and that means this. If they don't study human design, just speak, the way that I work is this. The way that my energy works, the way that I show up is like this. And I enjoy being a chameleon. It's not wrong for me to be that. So there's a lot of self-love and self-acceptance that comes in that gate 10. And that's why the shadow can be self-obsession, just thinking about yourself. But in your naturalness, you don't have to defend yourself. You just are yourself. And that's where the naturalist comes. It's not, you're not bumping up against somebody and exerting your authority of, this is who I am, you're going to accept it, because the 25 is acceptance. You just are that. And you're not going to hold yourself back in certain situations and other people because, they may not appreciate it or like it. You just show up and be you and let your whole self be expressed. Does that resonate?
So while you read or while you look at the other question, I saw in the Q&A, JLo was saying, what about the gates of the vessel of love if you have them like on the design side? And really what I'm feeling, and this is not really what Rob was saying, but what I see more and more as we have worked with this several years in Unlock Your Design. So the more we unlock our genius through the activation sequence and then the Venus sequence and then the Pearl and then looking at, all these things we're looking at, you are tapping in so much to your design. So when you follow your Australian authority, you move through life as who you are going to be aware of what's unconscious. Like I feel my 7, which is my purpose, every single day. Like I feel it. So for me, the fact that, you don't have access to them, they are there. When you are in your body, it's going to lead you. So for me to have the vessel of love gates in your body, it's like you're going to be that, what we were saying in the teaching call yesterday. It's the love of everything that's like you are the way that you move through the world is through these different expressions of love. And there are so many, like we were saying yesterday as well, like the gates of the vessel of love, they're connecting to so many places in the charts. And when we look at astrology wise, they are all the mutables and mutable, and all the cardinal signs are there as well. So for me, when your body can express love in so many different ways, and your aura, because we know that the aura and the body are connected, yeah, I would trust my body even more if I know it had that imprinting.
Mm. Yeah, and Belly kind of answered the question about like in the identity center having the red gates, the unconscious gates, or the black gates, the conscious gates. And like she said, when you are connected to your body, like, and when you're aware of your unconscious becomes conscious. It's just like Carl Jung said, it was like until your unconscious becomes conscious, it'll rule your life, right? And I think that it's just about being aware of those parts of you inside, and you can't control them, you can't try to manipulate them. They're unconscious, they're in your body, they come from your body. The personality side you can recognize in yourself, right? And others can recognize in you. But we are here to meet that design side, that 88 days before birth, that part of us that makes up the body graph. You know, we're not just the black side. We're not just like astrology only brings in the black side, where human design takes that 88 days before birth, you know, as we have that personality crystal and that magnetic monopole, we're calling in, we're building the body, and we're calling in that soul, that personality actually, that is coming in to fulfill your role on earth. Like, what is the role you're here to play? Who are you here to be in this drama, in this play? If you're the lead actor, what role are you playing? And who's the cast and crew of your life? And your dharma is going to bring you in those key characters that are going to come in, and you're going to interact with them, and your life is going to follow cycles. You know, it's cool. You're playing in your own movie. You are a movie star. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if there's any more questions that I think need to be answered here. There was a question about the magnetic monopole, but I don't think that we'll get into it. It's just about like, what exactly is it, you know? And we spoke about it yesterday. Is there anything you would add for people that may not be in the inner circle about the magnetic monopole? I don't feel any like energy or response to that question, particularly for my sacral.
Now we have done so much on it. So whether you join the inner circle or you get our global cycles course, so it's $20. Whatever you choose of them, you're going to have a lot of information on it. I would join the inner circle because it's like updated information. And I think that when I look back at what we did in global cycles and how you and I are kind of weaving right now, I just feel it's so alive. And also with the people in, it's alive. When you just get an evergreen kind of masterclass on something, it is usually kind of going in, some is staying, but a lot is also like kind of going out the other side. So so if you are interested of kind of the concepts, really to go with us through the 9 centers is powerful. And then you also get to have your questions answered live, like we're doing now. There's an opening call, there's an embodiment call, there's a teaching call, there are chart readings with the Q&A. So much possibility to. And even when you're on the inside, we might choose your chart. We were choosing between 8 charts today, and that's not a lot. And some of them we already did for the people that were already here the previous months. So there are probably maybe 4 people we have never read. So it's not like that many people. And yeah.
Yeah. So I hope you join us, and if you join now, you'll be able to have the content from the Identity Hub, and we're moving into the Throat Hub next month. So if you join now, you'll have time to digest and get into the Identity Hub stuff and still inquire, because from now on, we're going to be having these epiphanies and these drop-ins about the Identity Hub until we unlock the next one. So we've kind of laid the framework and given all the information, and we have the embodiment exercises as well. So the inner circle members can take that and walk with it in life and start to integrate it and see what wants to come through, because we're going to have things show up for the Identity Hub. I know that the 14 kind of was coming into our lives too, because it's important with Bella's second gene key in her life's work to have that 14 harmonic gate to bridge the identity center to the sacral in that way that's delivering the resources to her too, to her receptive, to her feminine. So that's kind of been something that I've been looking at as well. I'm like, yes.
You know how interesting, Ashley. You know how we say, or Ra was saying, and also Sheetan Parkin is saying that the two is the daughter with the dad's credit card. And it's just like doing everything with the card. So I arrived to Stockholm and I had to buy the ticket for the metro. So I'm not going like limousine or anything anywhere. And I said I need a 24-hour ticket. And as I was blipping the card, I realized I was blipping my dad's card because I went with his card to the pharmacy or something. And I'm like, this is so perfect. I'm in the capital and I'm blipping my dad's card. I have the resources. And my dad, his pearl is 14.4, super harmonic with my 2.4 in my life's work. I'm like, it's happening. I can never imagine this way.
Daddy's credit card. Yes. Doop, doop, doop. It's perfect. Everything's perfect. I mean, dive deeper into your design. You're going to start to understand the mechanics of you. And you're also going to start to understand why do you attract the people you attract into your life.
And also don't decide how things are going to come to you. This is the same teaching or the same theory for the attraction and for the magnetic monopole. As you move through life, the resonance that you're in is what's going to come to you. So for example, in the attraction, we have those keynotes, you know, the third line, it's promiscuity in the low frequency, and it's playfulness in the high frequency. In the second line, you have lust and passion. You know, depending on your frequency is what you're going to attract. And the magnetic monopole is the same thing. What you attract depends on your self-love and how, you know, how open you are to follow your striving authority, so that you are in the true elements of who you really are. And another thing that I'm seeing with the attraction when it comes to unlock your design, I do screenshots sometimes and send to Ashley, because we are people from the Jinky community that are like, they're ambassadors, they have done courses for so long, and they're joining the inner circle. And there are people that are like analysts from the human design community, and they're joining the inner circle. And I'm like, you know, we are not at the level that they are, either in one or the other. But what we are doing here, and with the help of you guys, it is something that hasn't been done. Like I was seeing the chat too, like, oh my God, you're weaving astrology. Yeah, I was looking at a chart yesterday and I was like, oh, okay, this is a 2-5. This is a really interesting profile. It's a projector. But it kind of looked like a projector, a 2-5. It wasn't that much energy in the chart. Then I look at the astrology chart, and there was a stellium in Aries in the second house. There was Venus, there was Mars, there was Mercury. Like everything about this person was Aries in the second house. I'm like, this is very tangible. Everything they do, like everything they care about, everything is their foundation is in Aries. And I could never have seen that by looking at the projector that doesn't have a lot of energy. So this person was not as a projector, and the sun was in Pisces. The only planet that of all the planets were in Pisces. You know, it's like so even looking just at astrology, I could be led wrong, thinking it's just about, this is not a poet. This is like a really like burning, fast, passionate person. So it's only when I looked at the 3 charts that I could really make sense of it. And then it was the cross of rulership. But if I just looked at the what life's work, it was 22.2. That kind of feels like the invitation and super feminine. So here we are making sure that looking at in all these places, human design and astrology, that we're not missing important aspects that are going to tell us about who is this being, you know, what are the main qualities. And that's what I feel with what we're doing here. This is the what is going to lead into the bridging the gap method. Like if you're with us, thrive by design, living by design, including gene keys. That's what we're doing here. Instead of calling it living by design and giving a certification like human design community does, we are calling it thrive by design. And at some point, it's going to be the foundation of what we are doing as a method, because this method for me is so super waterproof.
That was easy.
I just feel like the easy one. I grabbed this before and I was like, I don't know when I'm going to use it, but I felt like, oh, this feels like the time. Americans, I would say, we speak one language generally. We speak English. Sometimes we speak Spanish too, because of our proximity to Mexico, or French because of our proximity to Canada. The reason I'm saying this is because human design is a language, Gene Keys is a language, and astrology is a language. And it may not be in your wheelhouse to think, why do I need to know all these things? Why does it matter to be pulling from these different systems? Well, I mean, Bella, why is it important for you to know all these languages? Like, why are you so versatile in different languages? And why do you think it even matters? I mean, you spoke to that with Gene Keys, human design, and astrology, but I think that for people that are, what is it, monolinguistic? I don't know if I made up that word, but like they only speak one language, monolanguage. I don't know. Because I only speak one language, but I speak Gene Keys, human design, and astrology too. And it's greatly influenced my ability to like know a person and know myself, because it's not enough to just have that. Just like you can't translate, like maybe there's a phrase in French and it doesn't get translated directly to English. You can't, it's not even funny. If you're telling a joke and you try to translate it to English, it's like, well, that's not funny. Did I answer? I was asking you a question, but it kind of like, yeah, what do you feel?
You have that story about people that are holding different parts of the elephant, and they are one is holding the leg and it seems like a trunk, one is holding the ear, and it's completely different. So for me, when we are looking through different lenses, we see different parts, and then we kind of we can never as human beings be completely objective. But when we look from different lenses, I feel like we can see more. And even if I'm very intuitive, I haven't come to the point yet. And I don't think that that's my part, because I have the 62.2 in my North Node. So for me, precision is really important. And I have the 31 also as my attraction. So for me, I want to be logical in what I do. So I am intuitive, but I'm never going to say I'm psychic. Come to me and I'll tell you what I feel. No, I really like to, like I said again, to be waterproof in what I'm delivering to you. And sometimes I realize people are resonating more when I speak to them in terms of showing them the body graph and the human design, how the energy moves. And sometimes the journey in the Venus sequence about their childhood is what speaks to them. And sometimes when I show them, like we say in the circle, everything is in Aries, then they're like, oh my God, thank you. I'm not a Pisces, like I'm a Pisces, but this is where things are. So I think my intuition is more to say, where can I show you who you are that you resonate with? And weaving it, for me, I get to like test, do you resonate with this? Do you resonate with this? Where can we go? And that's what you and I are doing all the time with people. We see where they are receptive. And that is really important, because pushing things at somebody will never work. So for me, it is to play with perspectives and have something that for me makes me play with my intuition, instead of saying that the authority here is my intuition, because I don't think that intuition should be used as authority, especially not over somebody else.
Yeah. And most people's minds won't take that piece of cake. They're going to be like, no. So when you deliver the logical and the abstract together and the intuition with it, then it creates a complete package. And oftentimes I have to enter in through the mechanics, through the Gene Key human design chart. And that's where my intuition will pop on things, or my intuition will bring me to something. The same thing with Bella. So, and I think that's when you get a reader that is like not very intuitive, you can tell the difference. Like it's like they're just going through what they've learned. And you're like, there's no variance for like flow. There's no flow at all. It's just like, here's your report. And it's about masculine structure and feminine flow. So it's like these systems create the masculine structure, and then you get to flow within them. And Ra is more masculine structure and Richard is more feminine flow, because it's like the Gene Keys is very poetic. And so when you marry them together, it helps balance your left and right hemispheres of your brain. We all want to be balanced. Anyways, we get into this forever. We've been going on forever, but I kind of like this format, and I hope to do this again in the future, where maybe we can do Q&A with the chart readings, because I enjoy the dialogue and the conversation around it. So maybe when we get into the throat center, we'll kind of do something similar.
Yeah, and sometimes we've done chart readings that are so long so that then we don't have any more energy. So I feel like even the taster here, because already in that it's a lot. And then, you know, if people want to go deeper, there's even the possibility to do that online with us. We have like this, I know that we are discounting half of the price or something if people want to come with us live and do their chart readings. So I think, yeah, this is like enough to go into and then have some interaction. It feels a nice
Yeah, I
format.
think that's, I don't know if it's not on there. If you do want to have your chart read live and want the discount, that's really fun. We haven't done that in a while. And I don't think that's the link on the book your own reading. The book your own reading just goes to like the first time client page. But if you're interested in doing like a live reading like we did today, but maybe like the 60-minute one, that would be really fun to do. So anyways, invitations to the inner circle, to readings. Like me and Bella are going to go back into the inner circle. We're starting found. So a lot of our energy is going to be in these closed containers. So if you want more of us, then it's best to join the inner circle or the found. But we're kind of going to
found, if you are live with us on Facebook, found is the activation sequence together with the body. So we are combining activation sequence, which is unlocking your genius, breaking through from the personality to the soul, and then adding in the body work that is releasing trauma and stress from our body. Because when we work with the densest part, which is the physical, the densest of the seven bodies, we could say in the rainbow body, then everything else is also going to be impacted. So by working with the physical body, we can pull out stress and trauma that's been there even, you know, from the imprinting, even from our lineage. And that is so exciting to be able to experiment with how it works to actually do the work physically at the same time as we are doing the inquiry and the play and the community around the activation sequence. And it's in a way simple. It's only 4 keys. So you are activating that cross, and that cross is the costume for your purpose. And that is something that became really clear for me during found, that your profile and your cross is the costume that you're wearing in this trajectory, guided by your magnetic monopole. So yeah, it's still time. We did have a winner that came in yesterday after the welcome call, which was more like just the information about it. So the first kind of connected call with all of us is going to be next Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today for our chart readings, our illuminated design chart readings. And we hope to see you in the inner circle, or check us again later for our next hub. You can register for Thrive by Design so you can get the updates. But thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.